Welcome to the lighter side of the spectrum, the podcast that celebrates the multiple hats we wear and the juggling acts we perform in life. Whether you're parenting kids and teens on the autism spectrum, navigating the ever-evolving healthcare industry, or building a more inclusive and impactful world, this is your space to find connection, inspiration, and growth. Together, we'll share stories, tackle challenges, and explore how innovation and inclusion create better outcomes for everyone. Because no matter the spectrum, there's always a lighter side. Now here's your host, David Kaufer.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Lighter Side of the Spectrum. I'm David Kaufer, and I want to introduce today's episode by talking about when our children are diagnosed with autism, because it's something that if you're a parent, you've been through this yourself. And so I think for some of us, when our children are diagnosed, for all of us, we're all desperate for answers. Some of us clung to science. Some of us fell into conspiracy theories, and some, like today's guest, Randy Brandhagen, did both. So I want to be clear, this episode isn't about shaming or fighting. It's about honesty. It's about talking about the journey and just kind of what we go through as parents and how parents can use critical thinking without losing compassion, how we can make peace with the fact that we may never have the neat, simple answers that we once craved or maybe still crave. So with all that, I want to introduce Randy Brandhagen. As I said, Randy, thanks for joining me on the show.
I'm glad you're having.
Yeah, it's been great. Kind of becoming friends, right, in our Spellers group, Facebook group, and
yeah, for sure,
corresponding. But for background, so Randy and his wife Sherilyn have raised 3 kids, Alex, Kade, and Celeste. When Kade was diagnosed with autism as a toddler, Randy dove headfirst into searching for answers, as I think nearly all of us, had done. That search took him through the world of Wakefield, Autism Speaks, the anti-vax movement, but it also led him to the breakthroughs of spelling to communicate, which eventually unlocked Kade's voice and transformed their entire family's journey. Again, as often happens with those of us who've been fortunate enough to experience that. So today, Randy and his family teach other non-speaking kids to communicate. And he's here to talk to us, honestly, about what he's learned about his journey along the way. So with that being said, Randy, take us back to those early days. When was Kade diagnosed? Let's talk about the era, kind of like what year that was, what resources were available, what did you lean on, and kind of go from there.
Okay. Well, Kade was born in July of 1998. His older sister was born the previous year in February of 97. So we already had one child that was like 17 months old when he was born.
Okay.
And it wasn't until 2000, and Celeste was born April of 2000. So
wow.
Yeah. And that was all based on 10 years of infertility. I don't know if I mentioned that in my...
Oh, no, that's okay. That's interesting, because that's actually something else we have in common. It wasn't quite 10 years, but it was multiple years.
Okay.
So,
yeah, go for it.
that's right, man.
Stone made his appearance. Yeah, it was Stone. He said he was going to have some cereal. So,
there's a neat little story around that as well. Sherilyn and I were married in June of 1987, and we weren't trying to have kids and weren't trying to not have kids,
right? Yeah.
But she was on birth control for a few years, and then when we really decided that we wanted to start making a family, we were struggling obviously for years, and all of a sudden we decided to adopt.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was after IVF,
Sure.
2 2 rounds of IVF, and we saved 3 of what I call the totsicles for future use in case we wanted to, the frozen embryos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shar phoned me from work one day and just said, I'm pregnant. She had
You
taken
hear
her
that? You hear those stories, right?
Yeah.
Like the pressure's off, whether it's an
Yeah.
adoption or whatever, those types of things. Like all of a
Exactly.
sudden, boom.
Because we were in obviously infertility support groups back then, and that was a very common theme. As soon as people kind of gave up the idea that we'll have our family a different way, all of a sudden they're pregnant, and
Okay.
that happened to us.
That's
And
great.
the
Yeah.
piece of that story that I think is pretty amazing is that this summer when we decided that we were going to adopt, we went to the coast, Oregon coast, in I think Lincoln City
Mhm.
or Yachats, and we wrote the names Alex and Kade in the sand because that
Oh,
was
wow.
our boy name and girl name. And then almost to the month, 5 years later, we take the same picture with Alex, Kade, and Celeste all in the picture.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I
at
like
the same
that.
beach. So that was
Yeah.
kind of neat. So there
Yeah.
was about 10 years of infertility. So that I thought it was kind of neat just to kind of tie that story together with the 2 photographs of sand with just names, and then sand with the 2 people that were representing those names, and the third one
Yeah.
added.
And then the bonus name.
Yes.
So you already had you already had one child when Cade was born.
Yes.
So you kind of had a little bit of a reference point in terms of developmental
Yeah.
milestones, things like that. So
And Cade was meeting all of his milestones. He was even jabber talking. He probably had like 30 words.
okay. Yeah.
This is about the age of 2, so right around the time Celeste was born.
Okay.
In 2000. And then we had a story very similar to many people in the support groups. Cade had a lot of ear infections as a child. So he was on
Okay.
antibiotics a lot. And,
all right. Yeah.
and you're not supposed to get your vaccinations while you're on antibiotics. And so they delayed his vaccination schedule, and then they caught them all up in one day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was in, I don't know, early 2000, I think.
Okay.
Because he was diagnosed, I believe, in July of 2000 with autism. And the reason that happened, that we even got a diagnosis, was we took him to the hospital. He was like unconscious, limp in my arms, and I walked into the emergency room. And this is like, I want to say 5 to 7 days after getting all of those vaccinations. And they couldn't find anything, that was wrong. And then eventually, he, woke up and was back to his normal self. But instead of doing things like dancing to the little Pixar lamp that bounces around on the Disney movies, that Toy Story,
Yeah.
he would stand in front of the screen and dance with the lamppost or little lamp that was hopping around, and you could say, "Hey, dance, Cade," and he would dance. And then, again, he had about 30 words, but then he kind of stopped talking at all. And then he also would only look at you out of the corner of his eyes, from his peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Then he started lining up all of his toys instead of playing with them. And
So
something was not right.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned to Sherilyn at a mom's group, because he wasn't out there playing on the monkey bars with all the other little kids and doing what typical 2-year-olds might be doing at a park. And so she mentioned somebody that could evaluate him. And then the lady came over to our home and said, I normally don't say this. I just do the evaluation and then take that back to the office. But she said she was pretty sure that he has autism. And I didn't know what that was.
I was going to say back then, I mean,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
probably wasn't on your radar at all. No one was
No.
talking about autism.
Right. So this was again 2000. And then so he all of a sudden would do things that seemed peculiar. Like we on our coffee table in the living room, he would sit on it and then lift his feet and then push himself off so that he would land hard on his butt. And back then didn't know what was going on and just thought he was having, fun, but he was doing it a lot. And then, after looking back, and after, finding out, what it is autism has to do with your, brain body connection, your motor loops, your an apraxic body, your praxis isn't, flowing correctly, that he was trying to locate his body in space, by getting that deep impact thump on his butt.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm presuming based on the knowledge.
Knowing what you know now, but that
years,
makes a lot more sense. That makes total sense.
And so that was the first time that I kind of noticed something that, other than him no longer speaking or only looking at you through the side of his eyes, that there was something that he was doing that was intentional, but we didn't know why.
Yeah.
And so we joined support groups, and we would hear the same stories over and over again about it. It always seemed to be about the time that the kids were getting their vaccinations that this change in their being was taking place. And so we somehow, I don't know when Andrew Wakefield came out with that story in the Lancet about MMR vaccine being linked to autism. I want to say it feels like it was around 2001, 2002, maybe.
That feels about right. Yeah. We'll get our producer fact checking that.
Okay. And so he had some answers. And so that's that's wow. Somebody's finally knows something that might be the cause of this. And so we kind of followed him, and what he was doing. And
that was, I'm sorry to interrupt, Randy. I just want to point out, because you had mentioned this again in our earlier conversations. I mean, there really wasn't anyone else talking about it either. No. I mean, it wasn't just, he was providing answers and kind of had, there really wasn't anything else out there at the time.
Not at all.
Even a few years later, again, we were a few years after.
That I knew at the time that he was diagnosed was, I believe I'd seen Rain Man, and we called him autistic, I think.
Yeah, that was our baseline.
Yeah. So to me, everybody that's autistic is going to be what Rain Man is.
Right.
But that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
And so the only other group that had any, was looking for answers seemed to be Cure Autism Now. I think Portia Iverson is the mother of Dove, D-O-V. And he had a commercial on ESPN. Because I used to watch, go out to ESPN.com all the time back in early 2000s. And I watched that over and over again because it was a story about him blowing bubbles and being different and how it's trying to search for a cure. So we got pulled in that direction. And
is that Cure Autism Now? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I think that was the original.
Something like
that.
Be
certain, but I think Autism Speaks may have joined with them or bought them out or something along those lines.
Okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
This is now this 20-25 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of my first experience with trying to find an answer. Yeah, and Sherilyn was right there with me the whole time.
Okay.
trying to, find what's first,
What's
why
happening?
did
What's
it
going on?
happen?
Yeah.
And
What happened?
now what do we do? And
Right.
no, neither of those answers were very thought out, had any really good science behind them. Just weird. It didn't really matter at the time. We just wanted to know how do we fix our son? How do we get him back to who he used to be before
Hmm.
the autism diagnosis? And that's what we wanted. Was somebody to find that cure, that hey, here's the pill that you take or the therapy you do, and now you got your kid back.
Yeah. Yeah. If we know X, right, the theory, I
Uh-huh.
think we all hope if we know X caused it,
Yeah.
well, with science, Y or whatever, Z can cure it, right?
Right.
Like if you
Yeah.
know this caused it, then we'll reverse it. And I think I mean, there were a lot of, I call them therapies, but promises
Hmm.
made in different
Yes.
groups, right? There's a lot of voodoo science out there that kind of took that approach and
Hmm.
still does, frankly, right? We
Sure.
know, like, this is what's happened, toxins, vaccine, whatever, your child is damaged by this.
Yeah.
Take this protocol of supplements or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of crap.
Gluten-free, casein-free diet.
Yeah.
We tried everything. IVIG, uh, pulling the heavy metals out of your body.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Right. I know where, right. That's all there were. Did you do the B12 shots?
yep. Yeah. I mean, I think because Sherilyn was an RN,
Oh, okay. So you had some,
she kind of knew who to ask more than I did.
that's helpful. Right. That's helpful. That's more than most people have,
Yeah.
Randy. You know what I mean? Like at
Yeah.
least to have that baseline medical background.
Yeah. So that was helpful. And then I don't remember the time frame, because we moved to Arizona from Eugene, Oregon in 2003. So Kade was 4, Alex was almost 6. Um, oh, she what? I don't know, right? 97. She just had turned 6, and Celeste was 2. So that's when we went to Arizona, mainly for Cade because he liked to be outside so much.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
San Diego was too expensive, and we saw this place called Anthem that had a train park and a water slide, and it was like an amazing place to raise a family. So that's where we
Oh,
chose to
that's
move.
cool. Yeah.
And then while Sherilyn was here, we were at a autism conference, and Dr. Bradstreet was speaking. I don't know. Are you familiar with Dr. Bradstreet?
That name sounds familiar. That
Yeah,
name, so yeah.
he was big in the IVIG area. He had an office in Florida, and he was opening one in Arizona. And so Sherilyn mentioned, that she would be interested in helping him. And then several months later, he contacted Sherilyn and hired her as his nurse. So she quit the hospital and
Oh,
started working
okay.
full time doing, I think it's called the chelation therapy, the
Yep.
IVIG, and the pressure chamber that some athletes go in, the
Yeah.
barometric, I think it's called. I went in it and I got claustrophobic, and then
Oh, really?
but I managed to go in a second time and sit in there for 15 minutes. But it's kind of a weird tube to be in.
I
Um,
I
but
remember looking at him.
yeah, and they had a huge one at the office that Sherilyn worked at with Dr. Bradstreet. Mine was just next to our bed, and it was mainly for Cade, but I wanted to try it out to see what he was experiencing. And we had it for probably 6 months. And so saying all this leading up to, he was friends with Andrew Wakefield. So he was one of the more knowledgeable people that I had met. Dr. Bradstreet was. And then he was either killed or committed suicide, depends on who you're talking to.
Oh my gosh, I don't know that part.
Yeah, several years later. So that's its own, dilemma, whether it was self-inflicted or not.
Oh,
Um,
well, yeah. Okay, I could only imagine, right? Like,
yeah. But the reason I'm bringing up Bradstreet is because he had the ties in with Wakefield, so that kind of gave us another in with that group. And then the journalists that found out that the data that Andrew Wakefield was using was tainted, and that he was being backed by a bunch of attorneys that were trying to make money off these lawsuits from vaccines causing autism. So that was the first point when I
And that's a
questioning
big
things.
yeah, and that's a big point that I think is personally, I think that part's
Follow the money.
well, I think that part's underreported. I mean, I think that you've seen a lot of that, like the it was discredited, right,
Mhm.
on scientific grounds.
Right.
But that part B, and like, oh, by the way, it was also funded by attorneys who,
Mhm.
who had something to gain. Follow the money, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's almost more damning to me than the fact that he just had such a small set. I mean, they're both damning. It's
and so that at that point in time, that now I'm starting to question what I've been told for the last 3 or 4 years, and slowly but surely I'm changing as a person with respect to my background growing up until the point when, we started having kids when I was, I think 32.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
a fully
And
fully grown adult.
yeah. And so I needed to look more into this to find out, if that's why is somebody investigating somebody who's published something in the Lancet. And so, after finding out that, the data wasn't, peer reviewed, and there wasn't any, methodology that was used that was tested, and, the double blind,
Yeah,
all,
scientific.
all of that
Yeah,
stuff that, that was coming out. uh, I started, questioning, what's true and what's not true. And then, and that's kind of what started me down the road of what else isn't true.
right, right.
I come to find out that a lot of the stuff that, I grew up believing, because my parents, my siblings, my peers, clergy at the church were all telling me, the same thing. And I didn't, question it as a kid, but now as a critical thinking post college, adult, it was different. I had a different perspective than I did
Right.
as a child, who's just, I was very trusting. My mom always uses an example of my dad they divorced when I was 7, but before they divorced, he was cutting rose bushes with those big hedge trimmers.
Right.
And he has a kind of a similar personality and sense of humor as I do. He told me, he put my hand between the blades and I did it. And then my mom freaked out. And so I was extremely trusting of, my parents and grandparents, and why would I question what they're saying?
Kind of authority figures, right? I mean, it sounds like,
in
right?
general, yeah.
In general, right.
Anybody that's older than me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I had a different experience I was born in Pendleton, Oregon, and moved to Eugene when I was 4. And before we moved, there was 2 7-year-old kids that were in the neighborhood, and I walked up to them to ask them if they could play with them, and they said, "No, you're not we don't know how to play with babies, and you're a baby, so
Oh,
we can't
right.
play with you." So I asked them, "How old are you when you're not a baby?" 7. But their
Good
age,
answer. Good
I
answer.
believed that you were a baby
Until you were 7.
until I was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
Because 2 7-year-olds told me when I was 4.
Right.
So
Right.
that's, I just, believed what older people told me.
Yeah.
And that's not good for me. It's not good for people in general, or society, or culture. Just because somebody's, your elder or in a position of authority doesn't mean they're telling you the truth.
No.
So
No.
that's
Like I said,
kind of what brought me to the point in like 2015 where I had kind of now started to close the door on my religious background. Um, Being an evangelical till I was probably mid 20s, and then up until about 35, I would say I was still consider myself a Christian.
Okay. Yeah.
But then a lot of that changed when Kade started spelling and sharing information that I wasn't aware of as a kid growing up. So now I have a different perspective, and then than I did even 15 years ago.
It's amazing the perspective that we get, that we've both gotten, I know, from our sons
Yeah.
since they've started communicating, since they've started spelling. Yeah, it's incredible. It's life changing in different ways than I ever expected. On cue. On cue. Don't cheat.
No.
We haven't. I have to tell this quick anecdote because it's really fun because he's saying don't cheat. So he's one of his loops that he's had. And I don't know if you did the same thing, but again, because it was so hard, because they couldn't communicate, they grew up in the world of iPads and iPhones, and that in a way that was like huge for us to be able to say, here, just give him the iPad, turn on YouTube, right? And he would be able to watch, little Einstein's videos. Little Einstein's, those are his people.
Uh-huh.
And as we found out, that's how he ended up teaching himself like different languages, all kinds of stuff, right? Just wild things. So, but Little Einstein's his thing. But as we know, that this, just like social media is for adults, you can get sucked into those loops, right? And you just you watch it nonstop. Stone has told me that he wants to stop that loop because he wants his brain to be doing other things. He understands that, but it's such an addiction. Yeah, we're okay.
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat. He's building up to it. So it's been about a couple of weeks now. Finally set up the devices, his devices, so he can't access YouTube or the videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doing great. But periodically he likes to use my iPhone. He loves to look at the pictures and videos, which is great. I don't mind him doing that. But of course I have YouTube on my phone as well. But the story is, I actually tried to disable YouTube. Like I used Chat GPT. Okay, how do I disable it? I did facial recognition, so the only way you can get into YouTube. And lo and behold, a couple of nights ago, we could hear him in the other room just yucking it up, like watching Little Einsteins. And we're like, what the hell? Like, how could he do this? And even his twin brother, Ty, who's like a, uber smart guy, he's a sophomore at UW, has no idea how he did it. And Stone thought it was hysterical. And so, my wife, Renee, said, don't cheat. And now he's adopted that. He says, don't cheat. And he loves it. He won't tell me how he did it, of course.
That's funny.
So this is like, he loves that he's totally pulled one over on us.
And Kade mentioned, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you in the past or not, but he shared that he has a real difficult time lying. The anecdote was one of those games that you play at a party, and this was for a group of spellers, is two truths and a lie, I think. And so
okay. Yeah.
he had to basically share with the people in the group that he doesn't have much ability to tell lies. So
I wish that was the case with Stone.
He wasn't able to really play that game.
Oh yeah.
But it's interesting because he's, he has a heart of gold, and he's really wanting to help all of his, non-speaking community to really get their voice out there. But sometimes he's limited because he's, not able to, drive himself. So, he refers to, Shar as his chauffeur.
Yeah, that's me.
And so he wants to be able to, but he understands that he's not there yet. But hopefully someday that he does have a friend that drives, and so a non-speaker. I don't know, the first one I'd ever heard of, and we got to meet him,
That's awesome.
And he's probably around 20, I think. Um, and he drove from Phoenix, Arizona, about 75% of the way to, I think, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he, um, he passed his driver's test. And so I'm sure that's a big thing for Kade. Kade figured out how to drive or you know, ride a vehicle or drive a vehicle himself. One of his caregivers lived out in kind of the country, and she had four-wheelers, and so he would
That's a
tootle around
perfect
on the
way. Right.
four-wheel all by himself, and I didn't even know he could do it. So that was pretty cool to watch him do that. And he likes to start the car, put the car in gear or reverse when I go out of the driveway, and then he puts it in drive when I go down the street. So when I'm by myself, I forget that he's not there, and so I have to do all those things myself. It's kind of funny.
Oh, that is funny.
But
That's
he,
great.
I mean, he really likes to practice what he wants to do independently in the future.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I want to get into some of the advocacy he's doing because I know that's something else they share. But I want to kind of get back into this. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, go sit. So yeah, again, like I said, you and I shared a similar journey. Mine was, again, very similar. You look for information, and that was the information that's available. In my case, I would also throw in Jenny McCarthy and the work that she was doing. She did a great job of getting
Indigo Kids.
Yeah. And the point being, like, that was kind of like all that was out there. And I think that one of my takeaways is that I feel like, our, what do you want to call it, the mainstream healthcare system, I think we really kind of failed our community here by not addressing it and not taking it seriously. We do know that vaccine injuries occur. I mean, they're documented, right? Like, so
Sure. I'm not sure if there's even anybody that's on the total anti-vax that believes that vaccines haven't caused harm to some people.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's documentation around it.
Yeah, although I want to talk about, kind of like this, the anti-vax crowd, I mean, that we've seen, that we kind of
Right. And so I was speaking of the anti-vax group.
Oh, the anti-vax. Okay. Well, okay, I'll push back on it. I do think I've seen and maybe this was on Twitter, maybe it's just in different realms of social media, but for too long, I feel like there was just that message of vaccines are 100% safe, and if you don't, believe in them, again, there's kind of like this whole idea of you have to believe in them, that they're all great and they're wonderful and greatest things to sliced bread.
Mm-hmm.
You're anti-vaxxer, you're stupid, you're anti-science, right? Like it was like such a hard turn,
right?
And you had again the kind of the healthcare industry kind of saying, nope, they're safe. This whole thing about it causes autism is BS. Wakefield's been discredited. That's all true, but like it's true that Wakefield had been discredited, of course. But they didn't address the pain, right? They didn't address the grief. They're like, well, if that's not the case, what is going on? Or what, help us out somehow, right?
And nobody was filling that gap.
No, and that's exactly it, Randy. I think that's exactly it. There was a vacuum created by that lack of presence that RFK Jr. basically, and that group, I think kind of swooped in and filled it. And again, you talk about earlier, the funding behind Wakefield.
Right.
Well, guess what, people? RFK Jr. has made a lot of money suing pharmaceutical companies.
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there are so many people out there that still haven't found their way out that I don't want to
lot of people.
I don't want to call them stupid, and I don't want to call them awful people. I just believe that they're ignorant. They don't know yet. And so to shame a group of people just because they haven't been exposed to something that I've been exposed to shouldn't, make me feel any less about them. But I do feel pretty bad about the people who are still leading them in that.
Well, that exactly.
no.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. 100%. The ones who know better or should,
Yes.
and again, that comes from RFK Jr. on down to others.
Yeah.
Because like I say, you don't know what you don't know. And that's one of the reasons why, I kind of started my darker side of the spectrum.
Yeah, I noticed your little says the lighter side of the spectrum in your corner there, but on some of your on your Facebook posts, you have the darker side of the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, the goal of this is really to try to be a positive influence, look at the lighter side, have great guests like yourself to talk about, be a resource, be a source of hope, because we do know that there's so much of that possible.
Mm-hmm.
But with, Trump coming into office and first of all, again, I was a big RFK Jr. fan years ago. Like I said, I kind of went down a similar rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that he was calling out the possibility of vaccine injuries and things like that, because again, no one else really was talking about it at the time.
Right.
I admired that. But somewhere along the line, something changed, and I saw him as more of an opportunist,
Yeah.
someone who wasn't necessarily quite as concerned about really our community as he was, this narrative, right? This whole anti-vax narrative. And that's only intensified, frankly.
Correct. Yeah. The last 6 months,
Right. I mean, everything that you see, and, you've seen me call it out. My question is, if he cares so much about our community, if he cares so much about autism, frankly, as he says he does, where is the support? Where is the support for families like ours and so many others that need services, that need help, in all of these different areas? Why isn't that a priority? What about, non-speakers? What about taking on ASHA, I'm on my soapbox now, so you'll have to.
But I'm right there with you. That's, in my opinion, Wakefield did a lot of harm 25 years ago.
Yep.
But ASHA in 2018 surpassed them by a lot when they were trying their best at discrediting spelling for a few outliers. That any group's going to have outliers that aren't following the protocols and are, trying to cheat the system to usually for personal gain. But you and I have seen, tens, if not close to 100 people now in the last 5 years that there is no issue anymore around, are they really typing those words themselves? But there's still a group out there that wants to try to push that narrative that they're being influenced by other people. And that's kind of the misinformation that really still bothers me a lot, is that how can that group who's making so much money off of speech and language pathology and other behavioral methods, that they discount spelling, and spelling is the one that gives them their true voice, and they can share their experiences around those other therapies that were helpful or not helpful. And, that's a huge difference between somebody who can't speak and so in essence has an extremely difficult time communicating with their doctor or therapist, to whether or not what they're doing is helping them. And if not helping them, is it hurting them?
Yeah, right. Do no harm. Yes. What? Yeah. So tell me, I always love to ask this question because I think it's just so profound, but tell me, go back in time until when Kade started spelling.
Oh,
how did you find it? And then tell me about, kind of when you first started.
Ooh. So this was 2015. July, I think 29th, 2015. Kade turned 17 July 14th, uh, that same month. So
Yeah.
he was 17. And we obviously, I mentioned we'd tried every therapy under the sun. Um, and Sherilyn had 5 years previous had heard about RPM, rapid
Okay.
pumping method,
Yeah.
from Soma. Uh, but it was just another one of the things to try. But
Exactly.
5 years later, somebody else had brought it up, and so her friend from work, who we credit a lot of our life-changing experience because of her, she convinced Sherilyn that she should give it a try, because it was, we're in Phoenix and she's in Austin, Texas. Soma is.
Right.
That's a long ways to go for, the 30th time that you're going to get disappointed.
Ain't that the truth? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're jaded at that point, right? I
And
mean,
so her friend Burdette also talked to her cousin who lived like half an hour from Austin. And so we were able to stay at their Airbnb for free. And
oh,
so
nice.
that made it a lot easier. And so to get to that first day with Soma, we hadn't, the best that Kade could do was, point to pictures of things that he wanted to eat, or if he wanted to go to the pool, just demand type stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and so we didn't, the biggest question in my head was, does he know that I love him? And does he love me? That was, because he didn't act like it. He didn't act like he knew I loved him, and he didn't act like he loved me. Um, and so he mentions later on when he's open that first day with Soma, just the walking in the door and her talking to him instead of Sherilyn and I about him, that was a huge change. He knew at that moment there's something different about this. And the she was back then, so this was 10 years ago,
10 years
2015.
ago. Right. Yeah.
She started with folded paper and pointing to yes and no, and before even getting to a letterboard. But she saw something in him, and she said, "I'm going to try something," uh, and because I think he can do it. And so she did. She had done a couple of lessons, and then on the third one, they were talking about the sun, and that the sun's yellow. And she asked him, "Is there anything else that you can think of that's yellow?" And he spelled out rose, and I'm getting emotional.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's so cool.
And there was a yellow rose. I think, isn't that one of the a Texas song about the yellow rose?
Oh, yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Because there was a yellow rose on the breakfast table at our Airbnb. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
Sherilyn and I are just bawling at that point, because he had never expressed
Oh, yeah.
anything like that before, and he's now 15 years old. And so that was a huge day for us. And from then on, the rest of those lessons with her, he was spelling out answers that we had no idea. So who are your heroes, Kade? Military soldiers and firefighters. Like, holy cow! I mean,
Yeah.
had
Okay.
no idea. So,
Right. Yeah.
so that was a very awesome experience 10 years ago. So we come home, Sherilyn tries it for about 6 months, and he just is acting like he doesn't want anything to do with it.
Okay. Yeah. Which you hear about that a lot,
Yeah.
right? That's
But later on, when he's open, he says, "Oh, I always wanted it. Don't ever trust the outside is matching the inside."
Don't cheat. Don't cheat.
don't cheat.
And
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat.
Michelle.
Yeah. Go sit.
so he's now 16 months later, Sherilyn's trying to find another person to work with us closer than Austin, so that we can try to start up again. because she just wasn't, being successful with him. But back then there wasn't any like follow-up training or anything.
Right.
So you're just on your own.
It's kind of a one-off. Yeah.
Yeah. But so they invited Lene Crandall out of Utah, who trained under Soma. We flew her down to Tucson, and with about 7 other non-spellers to do a workshop. And so during that time, Kade was, pushing back against doing it with Lene, but then she had a breakthrough with him, during one of the sessions that first weekend, where now he's writing stories about nanobots in space, and it's like, holy cow, this guy really. And then he wrote a story about him. I'm sure it was about himself, about the monkey that wants to do hard math that's locked in a cage. And so that was very eye-opening. And then so we started seeing Lene every 2 or 3 months, and so that's basically Kade got to talk every 2 or 3 months, and that's not good. So eventually we ran into DM and Dana through the spellers method, and that's who end up. Sherilyn got trained from Soma and RPM, and then from the spellers method. But between those two stops, between Lene and spellers, it was Julie, and she trained under S2C under Elizabeth Bossler, but I don't think she ever got her certification. But she's the one who Kade was really open with and shared all of his amazing insights about the world and what's not of this world and things like that.
Wow.
So now he's able to write us a love letter, and I don't know if I read that to you or not.
No, you didn't.
It is just, it would take me a minute to read it.
Yeah, please. Yeah, no, share. I think this is important because I think
my favorite thing.
yeah, no, it's great.
So let me see if I can find it. Okay, here it is.
All right.
So Kade is speaking to me, that's Sherilyn, and his dad here. Need to really thank you both. Happiness is my life. Love you to the moon and back. I love you both. Your love is felt. Your kindness is ingrained in me. You have taught my heart to be what it is. Love is modeled to me in the greatest of ways. Really deeply grateful to have won the parent lottery. I am rich in love. Your love and kindness, along with your persistence, is impactful. Love lives strong in our home. Tell the girls, that's Alex and Celeste, they reside in my heart always. Your resemblance is seen in our hearts. Your traits that are most powerfully passed on are your kind and giving hearts. Your sweet, daring selves takes courage. To be different is not easy, but we do it well. The growth and change comes through hardship. Listen to your hearts, but also trust that difficulty brings needed changes. Tell me what is on your minds. Out loud, LOL. This next part is in response to me and his dad saying, we wish we would have done RPM sooner and feeling guilty we had not done enough to help him. You have done everything right. 100%, not even 99%. Do you get that? Mistakes are gifts of guidance and clarity. So are they really mistakes? Can you look up the definition of mistake so I can challenge it? Nothing is misguided or wrong when intentions come from love. Mistakes are made when hate is alive. Hate comes from fear. Fear is the opposite of love, not hate. So mistakes come from misguidance of intentions. Love is at the root of every action you take for me. So can you ever believe you have ever made a mistake with me? It's impossible. I started this with making a case for your love. In math, they call this a proof.
Holy crap.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
I mean, it's a love letter from your son that.
Oh. I mean, I'm sure you were bawling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
it's
an amazing kid, and he's helped our family so much, and he's what drives us on a daily basis to move forward in the direction of his mission, and that's unlocking as many voices as possible as soon as possible.
Which is the same mission that Stone has.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Well, that's just what I was getting at, Rand. Almost all of them do. And this is, again, one of the many things that blows me away about this journey is I can't believe how they all have the same mission.
Yeah.
And they all talk about love.
Yep.
Love is the driver, right? Like that is
Mhm.
the thread you see from all of them. They talk about how even though we feel we're imperfect parents, they
Mhm.
bolster us and tell us, no, you're great. I love you, like, don't feel guilty.
Yes.
It's the consistency and also the language that like Kade used in it. I've
Yeah.
seen similar language that Stone has written about.
Mhm.
He wrote for a Christmas gift. He
Uh-huh.
basically said, I can't give you guys a physical present, but I'm gonna write you this letter. And it was
Ah,
similar again in terms of how poignant, and just how deep it is.
yes.
You're just like, oh my God, where is this coming from? Not where
Mhm.
is this coming from, but again, that this consistent thread that they share is remarkable, to say the
Yeah.
least.
And there's, he had a group of, I would say, him and 7 to 9 other spellers in the Phoenix area. They would get together fairly often, and it was amazing to hear each of them spell, because it was very similar to what all of them were spelling. It was like they were sharing the same information, but nobody had shared the information with the group yet. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing journey. I want to pull in, speaking of my producer, we talked about him earlier. I'm going to pull in our producer, Dave Yas, who's also the father of an autistic son, 26-year-old Adrian, back in
And,
Boston. Now, he does speak.
how old is Stone?
Stone's 19.
Okay,
He's gonna
so
be he'll be
he still
20
has a
and
few more years before he ages out of
yes.
school.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's yeah, I don't want to say we're racing against that, but that it's there
Mhm.
um in our face. But Dave, I wanted to kind of talk to you about, our earlier conversation. We were talking about kind of the anti-vax crowd, or just disinformation, and from your perspective, because you have an interesting background. I mean, you're you're an attorney as well as being
Mhm.
a great podcaster and producer
Thank you.
and dad. I'm just curious, like, you've studied this. Can you talk about kind of like how certainty sells, and how misinformation kind of spreads and gets monetized, and how your perspective, how you've kind of seen it within our community?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring up my prior careers. I am a lawyer, and I wrote for a paper called Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly, and I just went back and looked at. I think it was in 2008. I wrote a piece about Adrian and about some public voices, celebrities who were basically mocking the idea of autism. So
Hmm.
Dennis Leary, who's the comedian and
Yeah.
actor, who's I enjoy in certain things, and
Yeah,
he's from
can be funny. He can be
he
funny.
can be funny, and he's from
Yeah.
Boston, so I should like him. But he in his book he had a chapter called Autism Schmatism, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's something to the effect that these kids don't need treatment for autism. They need a dad who can smack them upside the head and say, wise up, or stop being lazy, or stop crying.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Around
Full-blown ignorance.
Yeah. Around the same time, there's this conservative columnist named Michael Savage.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Remember him?
Yes.
So
yes.
he said basically the same thing. He said it's a hoax. There's massive overdiagnosis because the drug companies want to sell drugs to treat autism, and so most of these kids just need to wisen up. Or so it's so and it's funny that so that was 2008. Some of that still persists, and I don't think it's that tortured a analogy or a parallel to what RFK thinks, that autism is a simple thing. It's simple. We're going to solve it. We're going to cure it
By
within
September.
6 months. Yeah, right. Of course. Still waiting for that. Yeah. And it's, for some reason, especially, it's no mystery that our country has become somewhat incapable of the concept of nuance. It's you're in or
Yes.
you're out. You're red or you're
Yep.
blue. You're
Yeah.
a great person or you're a hero or you're a fiend. And so that may be at work here still. And so it's and nuance is required in talking about autism because, as we all know, you meet one kid with autism, you've met one kid with autism. They're all different. Some of them require a lot of services. Some of them should be encouraged to get into the workplace. Some simply never can. And
Right.
so but again, I don't know if you guys agree, but to me, what RFK is doing is, as you said, David, he's an opportunist, and he's looking to, autism. Oh, we'll solve that, no problem. I know exactly what causes it, and you know what? No one knows exactly what causes it, and stop it. So and it gets him headline and clicks and stuff, instead of some of the more boring, so to speak, work you should be doing to help people in the autism community, and it's kind of things you guys have both been talking about. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. It's, I've kind of used to, he's kind of following the Trump playbook in a lot of ways, right? In terms of kind of like you said, chasing the headlines and the distraction. Let's keep people talking about whatever the cause is, or get them fighting about that, talking about that instead of anything other than that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, which that's the thing. That's the part that just drives me crazy is we know how broad the spectrum is. We know what the needs are. We know that, again, there's just so much around this world. I mean, that's why we're coming up on almost 50 episodes, Dave, right? Of this
That's right.
podcast. Like there's so many aspects and components of it, right? But it keeps coming down and this is what drives me crazy about the parents too, who I see who are sharing, they're promoting this disinformation and they're so honed in on, we're going to find the cause. Okay, then what? You really think okay, let's just say hypothetically, oh, hey, we found out, lo and behold, the MMR.
Let's say coal causes it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Whatever. Now what? Okay. Now what's your plan?
Yeah.
What's your plan? Okay. You're just going to say they're not mandated anymore. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have unvaccinated babies. How's that going to help? And you've been screaming for 20 years about this rising rate of autism, how it's such a, this big problem. What are you doing to fix the problem that you've defined?
Yeah. We would all love a cure. Of course. Show me the magic blue pill. My son will take it tomorrow, but imagine if we treated cancer that way, right? We all want a cure for cancer. Of course. Cancer research. Yes. Money well spent, but not at the complete expense of cancer treatment. We don't do that. I mean, I don't think we do anyway. It seems like a lot of great organizations.
They're cutting both. I mean, that's
Well, yeah, they may not be getting that right either. But just in terms of the general philosophy of the public, there are so many people that are affected by cancer, and so many people have been helped by treatments and support groups and things like that. And we need that for autism. It's not this. And I remember being at a golf tournament once, and they had a kind of quasi-celebrity. This is mean, but it was former Red Sox infielder Rico Petrocelli, and he had all the right intentions. He got up there and it was an autism fundraiser, and he said, "Let's keep working and let's keep doing what we need to do to rid ourselves of this horrible disease." And it's like nobody told them that it's not a disease, and people that have children with autism don't want to hear that it's or affliction, maybe called this awful affliction. And yeah, I mean, we would all rather if our kids didn't have autism, but we understand the magic. You've talked about it, Randy. Your story was amazing, and and I have similar stories. We all do, and so let's treat them as people, get them what they need to do to live happy lives. That's important too, not just this. And sorry, Rico, but you know, he was ill-informed. He was ill-informed.
Yeah, he gave his best. I would
Yep.
push back a little, Dave, and maybe we've
Okay.
talked about this just in terms of the whole. I said curing autism. Again used to be firmly in that camp again, but this was especially before Stone can communicate because it's hard.
Right.
Randy will talk like it is really hard, and it's just it's painful. All the things that you hear the people profoundly autistic kids talk about. It is really hard. And that those are the times you do wish there was a magic pill that would just allow them to especially communicate, right? Not be able to communicate their needs and all that. But now that Stone can communicate, and Randy, I'd be interested in your perspective. Like I said, to learn about this incredible person that's been inside that I think is only possible because he is autistic.
For sure.
And non-speak. I think there is something special. I mean, I hate to use that word, but there is something really special, spiritual about this group that I don't want to cure that because they are better people than 90 plus % of us. Right. Like, but the disability aspect, the areas that prevent them from communicating or living independently, doing things. Again, it's kind of hard. Like, is that even the right approach, or should the focus be, hey, why can't we just support them more so that they,
right?
Right? Like,
Kade has an answer to that in one.
I hear.
Yeah, he said he wants a world where everyone is under the same. He wants something that allows any sensory issues to be compatible with everyone. Something along those lines where, the children that are non-speaking autistics, a lot of them have sensory issues.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of their energy is just trying to cope with all of the inundation of lights and sounds and smells and tastes that they're trying to filter out using.
They're trying to navigate, right?
For us, it's just normal. We can filter it out without losing any energy.
Yeah.
The what you said, David, is true because I've said it many times that we as parents of autistic kids, we do get great moments that other parents simply don't get, and it's not just, well, sometimes I say I think part of Adrian's charming personality has to do with the fact that he's autistic, and I can't put my finger on it. But what you say is a good point because, it could be that we'll never cure autism, but if we continue to learn about the way they think, we can continue to unlock what they have in their brain, just like, you've done with Stone and you've done with Kade, Randy. And so that may be sort of going a little bit against what I said before, but I'm allowed to do that. You know why? Because I appreciate nuance. There are nuances here.
Hey, kudos to you. That's the theme of the day. Seriously. And I mean,
that's right.
Because we don't know. I mean, this is complicated stuff. And I think, like I was saying earlier, that was one of the things that motivated me. Randy had reached out kind of privately. I'm the loudmouth in kind of our spellers community, and on my own Facebook page, I've kind of, put myself out there, and Randy shared, he's like, I used to kind of believe this, but I've kind of learned critical thinking, and again, we're not shaming anyone, but it's just this isn't black and white, people.
Right.
This isn't black and white. We need to understand nuance for our kids. I mean, but also just in this world. I mean, that's just, like there's a lot more gray out there than black and white. And, the truth is, I'm going to say, we're never going to know what caused autism in our kids, Randy. I mean,
I don't think so.
We could speculate. I mean, again, you can speculate but there's no way to prove anything. So why waste energy on that when instead, like I said, we could be celebrating and helping them grow and helping them impact the world in their own way.
Yeah, the brain's an amazing tool, and even if you're not able to speak today you can rewire the neural networks in there to allow for communication. May not be the type of communication that your neurotypical kid does using his or her mouth, but they definitely can communicate and share their thoughts and ideas and creativity with the world, where 10 years ago, not hardly any of them could.
No. Well, and to that point, Randy, now we're starting to see some signs that maybe the brain could be rewired to facilitate actually spoken communication. We've seen some real progress with Stone in that, and the brain enhancement therapy.
Oh yeah, I saw your recent. He was watching the television and keeping it on using his brain.
Yeah. That was the neurofeedback therapy. Yeah, he was keeping the TV screen live using his brain, which is incredible. And that particular part is supposed to be training the brain to get stronger. We're hoping that will address the seizures that he still suffers from.
We're fortunate. Cade's only had one seizure, but it was the grand mal kind, and that's a story in and of itself. I was home by myself. Worst day of my life.
Yeah, it's awful.
I thought he died, and in my arms. That was tough.
Yeah, the very first seizure Stone had was the worst. I mean, they're all bad. They're all, again, that's another story. But yeah, I felt the same. I just like it's awful, and it's it happens. Unfortunately, that's kind of one of those realities that we have to live with. But it makes you appreciate, again, the gifts that much more. I mean, I know that sounds maybe a little twisted, but
maybe he just needed a little firmer father figure to really
that's it.
Keep him in line.
I think if I was smacked him on the side of the head a little bit more when he was younger,
Dennis Leary style.
Yeah, right. Dennis Leary, Michael Savage.
Is that the Savage Nation guy?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
God,
it's also not his real name, by the way. His real name is like Stein or something.
Right. Stage name. Yeah. Well, this has been great. We're up against the time. Again, a great discussion that could go on and on. But thank you both, Dave and Randy, for weighing in. I think it's an important topic. And as I said, that's my ask for you out there in the audience, is to embrace the nuance, try to use critical thinking when you can, and be there for your kids. We've got a lot to live for out there. So thank you again. Send your feedback to david.kaufer@hey.com. Check out davidkaufer.com, and we'll catch you next week on the lighter side of the spectrum.
Thanks, guys.